What kind of things did you work on today, Chauncey?
I worked on just what I was going to say to Jason Quick because I knew he was going to ask the first question and the last question. No, man, we just wanted to, today we just kind of ran through a lot of our stuff, just trying to be sharp, just trying to be sharp, trying to be efficient. Training camp is over now, so you can't have training camp type practices. We're going to open up the season 10 games in probably 17, 18 days or something, so it's not a lot you can do. So we wanted to be real efficient. We introed a couple of different defensive things. We started walking through and talking through like special situation things, need twos, need threes, stuff like that.
Did Dennis Smith Jr. make it pretty difficult for you not to pick him up with this play in preseason?
Brooke, Dennis just earned it. He just earned it. He played like a player was back against the wall. He really did, and he was seriously 80% of the time he was outstanding. I mean, there was so many days where he was the best player on the court in training camp. So a guy like that, you're just excited for him to make it, because he's earned it and he deserves it.
Is he going to have a role, or is he still going to have a tough time finding minutes?
Well, as a third point guard in the league, and this is just a conversation that I've had with him, as a third point guard when all is well, you're not playing, but you still got to stay positive and stay ready. In today's game, as you can see already through preseason, he's been a starter a couple times, Got a guy out here, a guy out there. But he's the kind of guy that if there is a situation where he needs to play, you feel confident, that he can play and play well. But he won't start the season off in a regular rotation.
Chauncey, going back to the practice thing, what's going to be your approach to practices during the season as a head coach? Because some coaches don't do that much during the season, some coaches do a lot. Like, what have you figured out kind of how you're going to approach that during the season?
Yeah, well, the guys that are in the rotation is, most of the practice will be cleanup stuff. It won't be a lot of competing 5-on-5, going hard. There'll be some times in the schedule where, it will lend itself to you can get a little competitive juices flowing out there with all of your guys. For the most part, those guys that are in the rotation, it'll be a lot of cleanup, things that we need to be better at, this and that. Now then you have those other guys that aren't in the rotation that have to stay ready. Those guys will be getting in real work, 3-on-3s, 4-on-4s, things like that. So that's probably going to be the flow of it.
Chauncey, throughout the years, Nurk has been, I don't know what the right word is, maybe sloppy around the basket, not being able to finish, getting a little too finesse. Have you had conversations with him about finishing and whatnot?
Yeah, we've talked a little bit about that, and that was even before we even started camp. Everybody has their strengths and their improvement areas, right? And we know that, Nurk needs to finish a little better around the basket, because he's going to have those opportunities with the crowds that our guards create in pick and rolls and dribble handoffs. They're making that pass to him in the gap, and we already know he's a good playmaker. We look to him to do that, but he has to make them pay at the rim too, and I really think it's a matter of him just kind of slowing down and not rushing most of the times, So hopefully, Nurk will be better around the basket.
So is that what you're telling him, to slow down, or are you telling him to go with more power, or what are those conversations?
No, there are different reads that you got to make, Jason. Sometimes, he's such a big dude. Dudes are loading up, ready to take a charge on him. So if I'm telling him, just blow through, he's going to be sitting over there with me. And so that's not what we want, We want him to just be able to read every situation. You got to have different things that you do depending on how they cover it. So yeah, but I have spoke to him about just slowing down, taking your time down there and not just trying to hurry up, and don't worry about, what happens. Don't worry about getting it blocked, or don't worry about, just try to make it,
Was everyone available to practice today?
Yeah, we had, other than Tony,
Other than Tony?
but everybody didn't go the whole way because we just a little scrimmage in today. So, but most of the guys that were banged up are starting to inch their way back.
How nice it is to have Cody back. Did he miss out on a lot, or have you caught him up?
No, Cody's he has such a great basketball IQ that he just plays the right way, man. He plays the right way. He's such a good ball mover. He gets offensive rebounds. He's cooking it out. You hit him in the gap. He's making the next play. We missed having Cody out there.
Tony the only guy that is Tony going to be able to play Wednesday, you think?
No. I don't think Tony will be playing Wednesday. I don't think Tony will be playing for a week or two, to be honest with you. No. He had a little small setback. Nothing too major, but I think he'll be on the court and stuff hopefully before 2 weeks. But you can't just throw a guy back out there in the game. You got to give him
A couple weeks?
proper. It could possibly be a couple weeks.
Is he the only one down though? Is his hand back in the series?
Yeah. Well, they practice. You know what I'm saying? Kind of limited basis. Ant was fine. Nas practiced too, but I don't know how limited he'll be when you start talking about game.
But everyone else besides Tony you expect to be at least available to play on.
I'm hoping, man. That'll be nice.
You guys kept it pretty vanilla offensively in the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
Is that accurate, you feel?
What we really tried to focus on more than anything is, our kind of quick hitting actions, transition, secondary break type things, because we want to live in that area for the most part. If we can get stops, and boom, we want to live in that area for 75% of the game. Just learn how to play out of those actions, and then we got plenty half-court things as well. But we put in a few things, but it's a thing there where you put something in, and you start peeling back maybe one or two layers where you have more. We don't run it with any kind of effectiveness, and then you say, hold on, let me slow down. Let me slow down. Let's try to get it right before we move on. So we was in that position a few times in the preseason.
So much of this team's offense the last couple of years has been Damon pick and roll. So see a heavy dose of that?
It was the best in the league.
Yeah.
It was the best in the league, and as a coach, if you can have something that's one of the best in the league, you should do it. So yes, we will see, our fair share of that, but we have to have more though. We have to have more.
And a lot of that, what you're stressing is what you talked about earlier, is Nurk facilitating after he gets the slip pass. That's where you want to kind of branch out this offense.
Yeah. I want to. Well, there's several. There's that, and there's other ways to do it, but. Letting him kind of facilitate from up top, from the elbow area, guys kind of splitting and cutting. They did a lot of those things last year because they're good at it. CJ's so good at moving without it. Dame does a good job. Norman's always cutting, Rocco's a really good spacer. And so, we'll do a lot of those things because it makes sense to do it. They're so good at it, You don't want to stop them from doing things that they're good at, You just want to try to add to it.
Chauncey, you mentioned the first kind of stretch of games, and I have quite a few of them. And by some measurements, the toughest 20 games to start the season of any team in the NBA. And as a new coach, have you thought about what happens if we kind of stumble a little bit, or do you have to steel yourself at all to think I know this might be kind of hard, particularly early, and we just have to be aware of it?
Well, I talked a lot about in the preseason, about us just kind of being realistic, about where we are. We're trying to change things, you know, some ways that we do things. And there's a process that comes with that, you know. You know, you look at our preseason, and obviously in the preseason, you don't care about the results. You care about if you're making progress. And there were some times where we were making progress, and there were some times where we were taking steps back. And you got to expect some of that, you know, as you're trying to change habits. So I'm not concerned with, you know, if we get off to a tough start, boom. I think this thing is more about, you know, how can we be better? This team has gotten to the playoffs forever, and then those habits end up coming into play, and then it derails you from trying to, you know, extend your season. So I'm more concerned with how we can change a lot of things that are really important for us on both ends of the ball. And when we actually do that, I just know how good of a team we could be.
Given the change in coaching staff, obviously, and then the stuff that went on with Dane, do you enter this season feeling at ease and just going to glide into it, or do you feel any amount of stress or pressure to make this work immediately because the fans are out there clamoring for it to work immediately?
Yeah, no, I don't feel any pressure or stress at all. I feel like, you know, we've put out there and stressed to our guys what we need to do. We keep, you know, we keep the pedal down on that, and then we just kind of see how it works out. You know, I'm not a guy that, you know, thinks about the pressure and stress, and I'm not into that. You know, I do the best that I can, prepare our guys for what I can prepare them for, and then that's we just see how it plays out. You know, that's just kind of how I am. So I'm not really worried about that, to be honest with you, Aaron. I just worry about every single game. How can we do better in this next game, or how can we do good in this game based on what they're doing, the other team, they being another team. And I'll stay right there. You know, I'm not worried about all that. I'll stay right there.
There's been a couple games when you talked about the team's lack of effort.
Mm-hmm.
Do you expect that to no longer be an issue moving forward in the regular season? How have you addressed that with them? That's something that you talked about, accountability. That's one of the
Yeah, well, I never expect effort to be an issue, you know.
But it was.
And even the times when it happened, we talked about it, we showed it, we talked through it. So if it happens again, you know, we'll talk about it, you know. And the guys, I always believe that there are guys over there that's going to give you max effort, you know. And you just got to make sure that everybody else kind of falls in line with that. But, you know, we can't confuse effort for, like, not executing or being confused or, like, dang, that should have been me, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, those are two different things, you know. So I expect these guys to play extremely hard every night, you know, whoever's out there.